To drag this image on top of my shark image, I'll click up at the top, click and drag this file window a little bit off so that I'm able to see both in the same screen. I'll use my move tool at the top right, or at the top corner of my left-hand toolbar, and I'll want to make sure that my background copy here, my image with the layer mask, is selected. I'll click and drag this over and let go, and then minimize my teeth. Oops, I did it on the wrong image. Sorry about that. I want to do it on my not finished image. So again, I will take the image of the teeth, click and drag over, and then I'll position the teeth approximately where I want them. Now right now this doesn't look very believable. The tilt of the shark's mouth is at a slight angle. So to rotate and to make larger the image of the mouth, I'll hit Control T to transform. I'm going to hover around one of the corners outside one of the corners of my bounding box and then click and drag to rotate. I can also hold down Shift and then drag to make my mouth a little bit larger. I hit Enter right here, and you may notice that there's a slight outline of a box around the layer mask of my mouth. This sometimes happens, but it's an easy fix. If I click on the layer mask of my teeth, and I'm going to rename this teeth right now. My layer mask is highlighted. I'll use my paintbrush. I want to get rid of something, so I'll flip to black. Black means take away. My opacity is at 100%. I'll just click and drag around the outside of that box to get it away. There we go, perfect. So I was working on the layer mask. Now I'm going to click back over to the actual layer of the teeth. If I wanted to, I could continue work on my layer mask at any point in time, getting rid of any edges that I didn't like. I'll leave that for you to do though. I can do more transformations other than just move and rotate in size. If I go Control T, I can right click and hit Distort, or I'm sorry, right click and then hit Warp. And now you get a 9 square or 9 rectangle grid. If I click and then drag on any one of these, I can keep the pixels looking like a mouth, but distort or skew the appearance. This helps a little bit to fit this human mouth to the contours of a shark. I'll hit Enter to apply that transformation. And position-wise, this looks okay. I might want to now go on my layer mask and then feather some of these edges. So painting with black, I'll drop my opacity, this time to about 20%, and then just kind of paint around so that edge isn't as hard. I might want to get rid of the mouth here altogether. So once I fit my second object on the contour of my first object, I can make more changes on my layer mask to make it look a little bit more appropriate. There we go. One thing that I'm noticing is that the shark's mouth right here sticks out a little bit more. This is kind of an advanced technique, but I'll show you in this video anyway. If I click on the background layer, if I'm going to make any kind of change to that background layer itself, I want to click, drag, and copy that background layer, and then uncheck the eyeball for the first one. This is just in case I mess up, since I'm not using a layer mask. I am directly editing these pixels. If I mess up, I have a background copy waiting for me. I'm going to use the clone stamp tool, which the shortcut is S. It's right here on your toolbar. I'll zoom in, and I want to get rid of that edge because I can see his mouth. The clone stamp tool, you want to hold down your Alt key, and then your cursor changes to a sight, kind of like what you would see with a rifle. And I'll click and then sample a spot. First, I want to make my brush a little bit larger. Hold down Alt, sample a spot where I want to take the pixels from, and then I'll just click and I'll paint. This is coming in a little bit strong. I'm going to bring down my opacity a little bit, and then I am going to make sure that my hardness is at 0. I can sample from several source points, so I'm going to just kind of sample from several different spots around to get a believable image. So I'll click here, and then click from over here, and bring up, there we go. And that will just kind of move the pixels around. I'm able to stamp other sets of pixels on top of an area that I may want to get rid of. So there we go. It's not perfect, but you have more time than I do in this video to play with it. The last thing that I'm going to do is add a layer on top, like a color filter layer on top of the teeth by using an adjustment layer and a clipping mask. This shark is underwater, and you can tell because the tint of most of the photograph is very blue. The girl that we pulled the mouth from, it was not underwater, so we want to kind of add a bluish tint by using an adjustment layer, which are found right up here. If you can't find the adjustment layers, you go down to Window, Adjustments, and then make sure the checkbox is there. With my teeth layer highlighted, because layer order matters and I want to apply an adjustment layer on top of the teeth, I'm going to click my color balance layer. And you'll notice if I drag these sliders over to both of the blues, it changes the entire picture. I don't want to do this because I want the teeth to match the blueness of the shark already. I don't want to make the shark layer any more blue. So I'll click on my color balance layer and then hold down Alt. I'll hover between the color balance layer and the teeth layer. I'm not clicking anything right now, and until my cursor changes. And you'll notice I'm holding down Alt. If I hover over the color balance layer, it's just a pointer finger. If I hover between these two, it's an arrow with a white square. I'll click once, I see that, and now you'll notice a little downward pointing arrow. This is called a clipping mask, and it's telling Photoshop that I only want this color balance layer and the changes that I make to it to apply to the teeth. So now I can change the colors that I see within those to match the shark just a little bit more. It's a simple change, and you'll continue to build off of this skill and other skills like it within this class, but through adjustment layer, clipping mask, layer mask, and the clone stamp tool, you're able to, pretty believably anyway, Photoshop one thing creatively onto another thing. At this point, this image is finished. I would save it in my student folder and then move on.